Hey there, welcome to episode 111 of the Quaggling Sand audio program. I am your host, Dan Hugo. We're recording this on Tuesday, December 23rd at 8:38 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We normally publish on Wednesday, so we're getting a jump on things for this holiday week, another holiday week. Just in case I feel like I want to do something else on the 24th, thought I'd get a jump on that. So we'll be publishing, this will have been published on the 24th of December, sometime in the morning, automatically scheduled. But we're recording in the evening, the night before, for a change. It must be something special. The title and topic, in fact, the Retrospective 2025 episode, this is the final full week of 2025. So I thought I would just get these wrapped up for the year during this week for all of my various audio programs. I'm not so big on the platform wrap-up silliness. I've received many, hey, check out your 2025 wrap-up from LinkedIn and Audible. And yes, I have Audible books. That makes me a bad person. I know Amazon is awful. The Spotify generates wrap-ups for all the various channels I have and so on and so on. So that's kind of weird. I was here for the whole year. I should make my own wrap-up. And so that's what this is. No, I will not be reviewing or reflecting on previous episodes through the year. That's what those episodes are for. You can just go listen to them if you're curious. This is more a look back at the year itself. Let's see what we come up with. If you're not familiar with the Quaggling Sand audio program, if you have somehow landed on this week, great. The Quaggling Sand term is one that I came up with when I was probably like 4 or 5 years old, something in there. You probably refer to this as pins and needles. Quaggling sand is that sensation in maybe a foot or a hand, a limb, maybe wherever else. When circulation is returning, maybe you're sitting on your foot, laying on your arm. So it's numb. And then as the circulation returns, quaggling sand, of course. We'll talk about that a little bit more for this episode. Normally I would leave it there. So we'll, hang on, we'll get there. You, hopefully wherever you found this audio program, and if you just found it today, congratulations again. It is in a few places. I'd like it to be in more places. Hopefully wherever you did find it, though, you're able to locate the episode description, which contains the show notes, including a very brief summary today, one brief sentence. And then there are two links, the same two links that are in all of the episodes, the homepage and my Buy Me a Coffee profile page. But we'll get there. Hang on. We'll get through this episode. It looks like it's kind of long. I prepared notes as usual, and then we'll let you get on with your day. So on that note, the show notes. The summary of today's episode is not a retrospective of stories told, but the year gone by and what might come of it. Maybe. The links, as always, Quaggling Sand homepage. Quaggling, QUOGGLING.com. Quaggling Sand. Very much like it sounds. That is the homepage. That will eventually, and I've talked about this far too much, maybe I'll ad hoc a little something since I didn't write about this. I've been talking about doing the web design, but it turns out I got to do a bunch of web stuff, and I am just not a web designer. So I'm coming up with some template and automation workflows, but I really want them to work for the Innovate for Vegas websites. There are 3, and eventually there will be 4. Quaggling Sand, FFS Talk, Cafe Genius, and the Dan Hugo site where Buy Me an Update and Coffee Solo are found. And then not to mention the other various things that I'll talk about towards the end of the show. So every week when I'm like, oh, it's still a work in progress, and it's very annoying to me, but I also don't really have too much web traffic. So it's not like people are going, oh my God, what's going on with this? It's a work in progress, but the audio programs have stayed on schedule. So that's something. Will the trains run on time? That remains to be seen. But quaglingsand.com, eventually, primary point of publication, I want to reduce, not eliminate completely, but reduce my dependence on Spotify, make that the secondary. So the primary point of publication where episodes, notes, whatever will always be found, even if Spotify, one time Spotify completely deleted an entire channel. It was the Hugo Floss channel, in fact. I still have all the programs. I still have all the audio, right? But really, I had just recovered it. I think when they switched over from Anchor to Spotify, you had to go through something, and I never did. So I was on with support. They make you, can you give us the last 3 episodes, the file names, because they changed the file names. So only if you were the one that uploaded them would you know what those were. So I did all that, got the password, logged into the account. Probably 2 days later, gone. Okay. If that happened to any of my other programs like this one, I would be like, what the hell? But luckily, Hugo Floss has a different website now, hugofloss.com instead of hugofloss.co. And I'm going to do something else with it. So, but we still have all the old episodes if need be. quaglingsand.com. Keep an eye on that for the near term. And the buymeacoffee.com/Dan Hugo profile page. There you will find biographical information and links to all of my various audio programs. This has been around for several years, and it is basically the place that it's kind of like a link tree, freeform link tree. I don't have to maintain the website. I just have to update the links now and then with whatever new stuff comes along. So it allows me to point people to a website, a profile page that is designed specifically to promote the things I'm working on. So it's useful for that. The Buy Me an Update audio program was based on Buy Me a Coffee, of course. It used to be published exclusively at buymeacoffee.com/danhugo/posts. But because it's a podcast and because there are no RSS feeds at buymeacoffee.com, sometime, was it in the middle of the year somewhere, I bit the bullet because because Buy Me a Coffee was not able to accept uploads on a Sunday night. And I was like, this is annoying. So I created the Spotify account, uploaded all the audio, and got everything situated so that it appears in all the usual places. So there you go. Same with Ko-fi.com, ko-fi.com/danhugo/posts, where you will find the Coffee Solo update, original posts appear on that site, so named. And then they also appear on Spotify and Apple and Amazon and YouTube and all that. So everything's always a work in progress. That counts as some stuff from 2025. So we're still in bounds. We have flood warnings tonight, and it's supposed to be raining, so the humidity is really flipping my sinuses the other direction, which is a little bit nutty, but we'll make it. We will make it. Let's get started so we can get finished. First, why quaggling sand? I decided the origin of the... I've described the origins of the title of this program pretty much every time at the beginning of each episode. The idea is to imagine the mind and its recollections as the return of circulation, the pins and needles effect, the sand, quaggling. I don't know that I'm actually looking for a huge audience with this program. This is really an open presentation for the record, for posterity. I'm posting audio receipts, if you like, rather than writing it all out or typing it, since that would enable me to read it later. Because my handwriting is not that good. It's easier to speak it. It's easier to speak into a microphone. And since I already have everything set up to do the other audio programs, I figured, why not? You get to join in. You can listen. To be honest, there is still a Discord channel. I don't know that anyone would ever use it, but I do have a Quaggling Sand Discord channel. So should that ever make a comeback? I don't know. It exists, a server, I should say. I have a Discord server. It's been sitting quietly for years. I do sometimes wonder how many more episodes I have in my head. I figure if I zoom in and zoom out on different parts of the timeline, I wander around the timeline now and then, forward, back, jump around a little bit, fast forward, rewind. let one or two recollections loosen up a few more memories here and there, there should be at least another year at one episode per week. Maybe, right? But that is looking forward. Let us look back at 2025 briefly. Again, not reviewing different episodes. You can do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 5 sections of 3 bullets. That's actually not that much. So it's another year. I just hit my desk. Sorry. I moved to Las Vegas in July of 2013 after my little house fire in Sunnyvale, which I've mentioned in previous episodes. That was interesting, to say the least. Much like Sunnyvale, I live fairly near a fire station. I can't remember the fire station number. It might be like 52. I can't remember. But I walk by it sometimes depending on which direction I walk and whatnot. But it's in my neighborhood. It's right down the street. So I walk past it frequently when I walk around that part of the neighborhood, which is reassuring, I suppose. Especially on July 4th, there have been various fire alarm tests and false alarms and repairs and various other fun things here where I live. I have to tell you, they are annoying, but fire alarms do serve a purpose. Ideally, not the real one anytime soon. I would very much like to not have another fire. By the way, if you've never heard of that story, if you've never heard me tell any part of that story, the fire started next door. I think it was 340. I was at 330 Angel Avenue. I was asleep. It was something like 1 a.m, and I had fallen asleep on my couch. So I was dozed off. And from what I've been told, what I remember being told back then, contemporaneously, someone heard something not quite like a movie explosion, but they heard a loud bang. And the fire investigation, which never did come up with the cause. That's kind of weird. They did apparently find a push lawnmower with the engine, the part that spins the blade that's usually on top of the 4 wheels. The engine was gone. So the theory is that somehow caught and exploded. And then there you go. Who knows? But yeah, I moved to Vegas shortly after in July. I have to tell you, though, the fire alarms they're not so bad, considering the alternative. In these post-pandemic times, there has been less and less reason to go to restaurants to eat or even to coffee shops for coffee. I continue to prepare my own victuals, and I became a home barista back in the lockdown days, and I am becoming better and better at it. I continue to make my own, and to be honest, I think I do a pretty good job with the food and the coffee. For myself, anyway. So the savings are dramatic. I costed out the coffee. If I make my a nice cappuccino with I use heavy cream and a couple of Tirani syrups, a little shot into the cream before I froth it, not into the coffee itself. That's my inspiration from the salted foam days of Starbucks. So I do my cappuccino. I think the total cost of that is like $1.50. Something like that. So it's hard to beat. I don't really have much reason. I have my desk. I have my computer. I have my internet connection. I can watch YouTube videos all day, listen to music. No one is chatting next to me at the next table. I can go have as much coffee or as little as I want, and so on and so on. It's not a bad thing. If I had to compare this year to any other years after 2021, when the world started returning to normal, if you want to call it that, I would say this is the least amount of bus riding and trips to downtown or other parts of the greater Vegas area of any of those years. Slightly more than in 2020. Yeah, believe it or not. The nonprofit. This took up kind of a lot of this year. We founded the Code for Vegas Foundation in June of 2022, a reboot of the Code for Vegas organization that had been affiliated with Code for America before it withered a decade ago. Code for Vegas. Code for America is a disappointing organization, and because people expressing interest in our early days were not always coders, it made sense for us to rename, since we were no longer going to be affiliated in any way with Code for America. And since the city of Las Vegas and this region are big on claiming to be innovation hubs, so there's an innovation district, there's an innovation center. The city has a website, innovate.vegas. We claim to be a global innovation hub. So Innovate for Vegas seemed to fit better. And you do not need to be a coder to be an innovator. You can be as innovative as you want at any age, any skill set, any ability. So we figured that'd be much more inclusive of people who want to participate. Now we just need to find those people. So we renamed. When did we rename? It must have been, was it in October? I think the total renaming of the charity, we got our 501c3 determination in October of 2022. I think the total rename took until like February or March 2023. So it was a quick change of mind. 2 of our directors from the board were really disappointing, if I have to be honest, which I usually am. And luckily, they stepped away to do their own thing. Technically, they just didn't show up anymore to our board meetings, and that's what bylaws are for. So I haven't talked to them in a very long time. Before they were resigned. This was a great thing, all said and done, but we now have no directors on our board. My search has been, well, me, it's just me. Fun fact, the IRS for a 501c3 really wants at least 3 unrelated, so no husbands and wives or brothers and sisters or parents and kids, whatever unrelated, at least 3. I guess so there's no collusion or something. So it was a great thing that they left, but now there's just me. My search has been tricky and thus far fruitless, which is annoying. I am focusing more on some local participation. These 2 board members are in Sacramento or the Sacramento area, Madero and Sacramento, actually, Northern California, which is almost always guaranteed to be a disappointment to look for participation locally in the greater Vegas area. So we are totally on course, definitely, for better or worse. So they left at the end of May, coincidentally, not unrelated, but coincident with my ankle injury, which I'll talk about in a second. So they left at the end of May. Our fiscal year ended at the end of June 30th. So I filed our paperwork so that they were no longer a part, legally, they were no longer a part of our organization, but I didn't really have much time to find new directors. So I figured, okay, well, I'll spend however long it takes. So it's been 6 full months, but I don't really want to spend too much time on that because chicken and egg, if I spend all my time looking for directors, I will have nothing to show or describe to them other than blue sky plans. And I found that Vegas is definitely a show us what you're working on or show us what you got. We want to see something. Just describing it. This blue sky, what do you think we are, a global hub of innovation? You think we're going to be the next Silicon Valley? Get that napkin out of here. We want to see a working demo, or we don't even care. And then we don't even care after that. On the other hand, this is something of a civic volunteer winter. That just means that there's a slowdown in participation in general. And that is what our organization is about, civic volunteerism. And this is not just in Vegas, from what I've gathered. So my reconnoiter has shown me that this might be a thing. So this is a good time to work on some of those underpinnings, some things to show rather than tell, some of my own ideas that intersect with our community elevation plans, and see where things go. I was too distracted for the latter half of the year looking for board members, not the entire latter half. So I'm going to say probably by August, September, I was thinking, you know what? I feel like I'm spinning my wheels and not getting anywhere. So I was too distracted though. And now that's taking a back seat for a little while. Hopefully the IRS will not be too upset. Whoever still works there, who knows? So what about those ideas I literally just mentioned? I think about the community elevation stuff and our methodologies and whatnot in the Let's Innovate for Vegas audio program. Did I say I think about it? I do think about it, but I talk about it. So we have a podcast that's published on Tuesdays, and I produced a retrospective episode for this year as recently as today, 23 December 2025, this morning. So you can check that out if you're interested. You can find a link to that on the Buy Me a Coffee profile page. Yeah, Let's Innovate for Vegas. It's a 20-minute episode, not too long. I have also covered some of the ideas I'm focused on for my own pursuits in the Cafe Genius Impresarios program, which is published on Fridays. Since I am an impresario myself in that context, it works out nicely that I used to do interviews for both Let's Innovate for Vegas and Cafe Genius Impresarios. That I should start that up again. It's really a pain to get people to commit to an interview. Usually if people say, oh, how many listeners do you have? I tell them, never mind. I'm not interested in your, whatever that is, your ego. So I usually send those people away. There is some notion of a startup scene in Vegas. Cafe Genius is about the local entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem. I did minor in economics, and I've thought about economics and the ecosystem here and compared to Silicon Valley and other places, and the innovation culture that we don't have here, but we could someday. It doesn't just happen by sprinkling money over the city. Some people believe it does. But having spent so many years in the real Silicon Valley after 1993, when I moved there after graduating from college, and after having researched some, I've researched some, to discover the long path that was traveled to have a place like Silicon Valley at the time it was, and what it has become, which is not great, in my opinion. I have some uncertainties about this so-called scene here, so I try not to waste too much time on that. Thus, I'm cynical, glib, yes, two check marks. Thus, my impresario path, and that is with two S's, impresario. It's a less common spelling. Cafe Genius has two F's, cafe, two F's, also a less common spelling. It's largely solopreneurial, my path forward, for now anyways. It has been for a while. Anyways, there is a drastic shortage of innovation in this global innovation hub, as they like to call it. When it comes to information sharing in particular, that is, we have nearly zero media coverage of the startup scene, nor do they cover much in the way of innovation, except for maybe a little puff piece now and then, or much of anything in general that isn't the fun economy, which is trademarked by the UNLV Office of Economic Development. They received their trademark finally in February of 2025. Or if you want to hear about real estate or crime, we got plenty of those. We have a lot of crime. People say that the crime rate here has come down, which is probably true. That still makes a lot of headlines, or other such things. I like to say that it's either who won, who has a residence on the Strip, which building is being torn down or built, and crime and politics, same thing. The usual stuff published as newspapers have been for time immemorial, but on websites. I used to work at salon.com, if you're familiar. We were implementing some new features. I didn't really get into the political leanings of the site, but they are fairly liberal. They were doing some interesting things, and then they said, oh, let's just go to WordPress. So they switched over to a WordPress-based website, and that's where innovation really goes to die. If you have they had engineers. They had 4 software developers. 3, 4? Let's call it 3.5. Software developers working on staff. So when they switched over to WordPress, it was only a matter of time. I left right before that. Food trucks, special food needs, and a city as a showcase plan are in the works. These are my ideas that I'm working on. The way to share information better is an Innovate for Vegas project called My Muni, and also Welcome. My Muni is about my community or municipality. Welcome is about people visiting a locality. Both are intended for general use. Neither is Vegas focused. Welcome, you could argue, inspired by the name on the sign or the word on the sign, welcome to fabulous Las Vegas. But in general, those should be considered open source, sort of new facing, kind of bringing some old, completely functional technologies into the modern era, not WordPress. The path forward always seems to get longer rather than shorter, but this is how going solo can be, for better or worse. So, but yeah, this year I've definitely not realized, but I've sort of come to the conclusion that wasting time trying to get other people to come through or to fulfill their commitments or show up, some other little things like that, very tricky. It's very tricky here in Vegas. So when I was in Silicon Valley from 1993 to 2001 and 2005 to 2013, I've done entire episodes on some of my experiences during that time. There could be other episodes in the future about some of that stuff. I encountered a lot of entrepreneurial people that would show up, people that would do things. So like I said, innovation culture, we need to work on that here. My physicality, I did a really bad number on my right ankle at the end of May. I think it was May 28th. Might have been May 26th or something, such that I could barely get around all summer. Now, when I say barely, the day of the injury, I was able to stand on my right foot. So I was not, I was not putting my foot up in traction. I didn't have ice on it 24 hours a day for 5 days. In fact, it really didn't swell up too much, but ooh, boy, howdy, was it painful. So not really sure what happened. I walked. I walked to an urgent care facility, which is conveniently across the street from where I live, like half a block down across the street. And I walked there and I figured if I can walk here, it's probably not that urgent. Luckily, I had a cane that I had found leaning against the dumpster like a year ago. That came in handy. So I was able to go to the grocery store and whatnot. So I pretty much walked every day, but I was always excited if I could walk another few yards or if I could walk a little bit faster when I was able to walk up and down a couple of stairs. So the little things. This injury removed all notions of going to the gym and exercising properly through the summer, though I did manage to get my ankle back to what I would call full function by September. Right now, it's pretty much 100%. I can't really identify any issues so I'm gonna give it an A to A plus, somewhere in there. That seemed like a long time, like basically June through September, so pretty much 4 months. And it was, but I kept at it every day, a little bit more walking around, a little bit longer distance, a little bit more walking than yesterday, and so on, to make sure my ankle didn't get stiff or feel like I was going to be doomed. I didn't want my foot to fall off. And I have a standing desk, which I'm standing at right now, which may have helped, I think, because I still kept producing my audio programs every day and everything. So I really didn't stop the day-to-day. The physicality was definitely limited, but maintained a certain amount of productivity. And I don't own a chair. That's remnants from a house fire. Some stuff stayed behind in somewhat intact or otherwise. I have to be honest, a lot of my furniture and stuff was more an asbestos problem than a burn problem. And everything I owned and everything I left behind and everything I took with me smelled like a campfire for a very long time. My left knee had been giving me some problems before the injury in May. So I was favoring my right ankle for a few months, and my left knee was yelling at me the whole time, like, what? How come we don't get a break? And now I have to contend with this recovery process. So right ankle good, now left knee, got to deal with that. It's actually not my knee, it's the quadriceps, the muscles above the knee. So no grinding of joints and things like this, but it does feel wobbly. So got to deal with it. I still have a standing desk, so I need to get back on my regular gym schedule. I'm okay standing. I have to move more. I do walk all the time. I've walked many miles. I considered myself fully recovered when I was able to walk 3 miles, which was my usual longer loop in my neighborhood. So I can walk 3 miles. I can walk 1.5 miles. I've walked to the gym, just not as often as I'd like. That's 1 mile each way plus there. So yeah, I just need to get back on my schedule. And having done that by now has killed me. Not having done that by now has killed me. And all of the energy and health that comes from regular vigorous exercise has eluded me for the past couple of months, which I do not care for. In the meantime, my entire health journey has been, I know for a fact, and all too well, that a keto diet, that is, now people have various misconceptions about what a keto diet is. Is it low carb, but is it keto? I'd be best with something like under 40 grams of carbs. So if you're counting fiber, right? So my favorite meal, my one meal a day. So I crafted it for nutritional content and flavor. Rice, cauliflower, some spinach, some kale, some sun-dried tomatoes, some feta cheese sometimes, occasionally some salmon, get a little omega-3s in there, and some protein. What else did I have in there? Some walnuts or some sunflower seeds. What else was in there? There was some couple of other things. I would mix it up a little bit. So that was great. And it was very low in carbs. Pretty much want something like 10 grams of protein or so and fat. Oh, I put olive oil on it, of course. I got my MCT oil for coffee. Drink a lot of coffee. Anyway, so I got all that figured out that it's quite enjoyable for me. So that's all that really matters. I wrote many Medium articles about that. You know what you should eat? I do, and I wrote all about it. So you can go read that instead of trying to describe to me what you think, because I'm doing this for me, not for you. 1 or 2 keto Cheeto days. People would call them cheat days. Keto Cheeto, CHEATO. Sometimes I would go to a food truck event on a Friday, try to stick with keto, but every once in a while there'd be oh, do you want this? Do you want the rice? Yeah, I'll take the rice. Why not? Vigorous exercise, though, makes all the difference. If I do not have exercise, but I stick with a keto diet, or if I only exercise but do not maintain my keto diet, then I pretty much maintain. So if I do both, everybody wins, especially me. I have not been getting to the gym, though, because of this knee thing lingering, and I am not pleased about this. So my usual 2 o'clock in the morning, 1:30, takes me about 20 minutes on a normal knee to walk the mile. It's almost exactly a mile. So if I don't rush, I kind of use that as a calm warm up. Then I would usually do 20 minutes on the elliptical, 20 or 30, lift some weights, stretching, some intermix of those, and then walk home. So it's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. I used to walk 3 miles each way to the 24-hour fitness that I used to be a member of pre-pandemic, but then they went out of business. So 1 mile to the EOS gym each way. So instead of going every other day, I go every day, except for lately, I go no days. No good. Last section. It's been 35 minutes by my clock here, so not too bad. Onward and upward, Excelsior. It's a good expression. I use it all the time. It is one of the starships from the Star Trek movies, Excelsior. Onward and upward, I like to say when and I do believe that to be true, that we should all be aiming high and pursuing a path in that direction. So for this path forward, onward and upward. This year gone by has been an interesting one for a variety of reasons, somewhat telling, maybe a little bit revealing with regard to my immediate surroundings, the people whom I barely speak to anymore, the moving around the city, which I barely do anymore. I should be enjoying Vegas a lot more than I do. I should be going and checking out the Bellagio Conservatory. I have some plans for the coming year, a lot of them based on what I have observed this year with regard to this Vegas place. I've been learning about this place the whole time. I've lived here for over 12 years now. But 2025, a year that has been rather painful for the economy here for various reasons, some obvious, some mysterious, but still sort of obvious when you think about it. We're talking like room prices, ridiculous fees, just everything it's no longer nickels and dimes. It's $5 and $10 bills, and you're lucky if it's that low. So everything, they've stopped. Basically, the take-home message is that they've really stopped catering to the normal person. They're really going for the whales, the Formula One race. Oh, come and see the Formula One race. The rooms are $1,000 or whatever it was. Who knows? CES is coming up January 5 through 9. That'll be kind of interesting. It's definitely been eye-opening, though, for the last year when it comes to the whole next Silicon Valley thing. Vegas should be a better Vegas, not try to be some other place. It will never be, in my opinion, but the global innovation hub, the Hollywood 2.0 stuff has fallen through in 2 legislative sessions and a special session that ended, when did that end? I think it ended in November. Anyway, so they've tried 3 times now to pass some legislation to give special incentives to movie studios because that's what they need. I think one of the studios involved was Sony, and I think another one was Warner, and now Warner's up for sale. So who knows what's going to happen there. Mark Wahlberg was a big, huge proponent of this, and every time in the paper, and this is what Vegas is good at, celebrities are moving to Vegas from Hollywood, and we're trying to make this the next movie mecca, or whatever, right? Various phrases to that effect. celebrities like Mark Wahlberg and his family, and Dean Cain, TV's Superman. That's it. They didn't have any other celebrities. So Mark and his family, Mark Wahlberg, Mr. Wahlberg, I don't know the guy, Marky, he and his family moved to Florida, so they don't live in Summerlin anymore, as far as I'm aware. It's been in the papers. So he and his family are out. He still has business interests in Vegas. He may have opened a bar, and he still has the Wahlburger hamburger restaurant. And he could come back and make movies here. Who knows? He still has done some press about eventually passing this legislation, but it wasn't looking good. It probably shouldn't pass, but And then Dean Cain, he joined ICE, so who knows what that guy's up to. And that's it. Those are our two celebrities. It's a deluge. So myself, I have some things I want to accomplish this year based on my entire time here, but certainly looking over this past year, the information sharing scheme, this whole economy question, they're not very transparent about some things. They could be transparent, but they just aren't. I don't know that it's a question of wanting to conceal information. I will say I knew a canine police officer, dog, right? And he was telling me, he was also a food truck owner. He was telling me one evening, my knee is killing me. I was jumping behind a mailbox during a shooting incident 2 nights previous. I was like, oh, I didn't hear about it. He goes, oh, you wouldn't hear about something like that. They don't talk about all of the crime. that would make people want to run away. So there's some transparency, there's some information sharing. We could take advantage of some modern techniques. Things could be more accessible. The inverted pyramid is still a thing, but most news is shared as though you're reading it in a printed newspaper. We could be taking advantage of timelines and maps and Federation, Activity Pub, RSS feeds, a whole bunch of things that we could be spreading across the information landscape rather than, anyway, so we'll see what we can get to unfold in that regard. And so there you go. We're at 41 minutes. The next episode of Quaggling Sand will drop on New Year's Eve in the morning. All episodes this week are named the same, Retrospective 2025. I have not recorded FFS Talk and Cafe Genius Impresario as yet, but I know what I'm going to talk about. So if you're curious about the other audio programs I produce each week, especially this retrospective week, if you want to have some flavor, do stop by the Buy Me a Coffee profile page, buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo. You'll find all the links up near the top of that profile page to Let's Innovate for Vegas, this program, Quaggling Sand, the FFS Talk audio program, Cafe Genius Impresarios, the Buy Me an Update audio program, which is published on Mondays. That's 5 minutes. And then the always floating around, never sure when it's going to come out or what I'm going to talk about, Coffee Solo. And then eventually we'll get Hugo Floss up and running. And I'll have no time to do anything else. You need not spend any money when you visit buymeacoffee.com. There are affiliate links if you so desire. Or if you want to actually buy me a coffee, you can do that too. But you need do neither. You can just click and enjoy. Thanks for traveling through 2025, either with me or somewhere around me. If I emailed you and you didn't email me back, you don't have to bother. We're good. Starting the new year without any baggage. You should do the same. That's where I'm going to leave it for today. Thank you so much for listening as always. Or if this is your first time, save that for the end of next year. And you will have heard 52 more episodes of Quaggling Sand. Thanks, and Happy New Year. Happy, safe, and successful New Year. Take care now. Bye-bye.